best national hunt meeting I've ever been to.
A few of it is going to be so overbet. 11-2 is an absolutely shocking price, isn't it?
He was actually second in the Sonic the Hedgehog 3 coming soon handicap chase. Hello and a warm welcome back to the Next Gen Racing YouTube channel for our weekend preview after an action-packed weekend last weekend with the Aintree Festival going on along with the World Cup night in Dubai. Joined by Jack as always on this channel. Jack, quickly, how was Dubai? You were out there at the World Cup meeting and it looked mega.
Yeah, it was fantastic. Thank you, Sam. It's kind of where a lot of course, the world's top thoroughbreds were. It was top class racing, a night of complete shocks left, right and centre. But no, a few feel-good stories in there, and yeah, a lot to kind of pick out of going forward for the rest of the year internationally.
Yeah, absolutely. And a massive night for Japan out there in Dubai. And like Jack said, there were plenty of shocks out there. And I was at the Aintree Festival for the first time. And I mean, the weather was absolutely glorious. I don't want to do a review of the National. We don't need to review any racing on here. But I just want to say that the Aintree Festival is probably is the best national hunt meeting I've ever been to. Not just festival, potentially the best national hunt meeting I've ever been to. The atmosphere, the party, just the way everything was organised. It's a brilliant race course, and I have to say I was more impressed by it than Cheltenham. Don't know if anyone in the comments or anyone who's been to both has an opinion on that, but let us know down in the comments if you actually do prefer Aintree to Cheltenham. But personally, I do. But we are going to get straight into the action today because we've got a busy show. We've got some national hunt racing action from Ayr, and we've also got some flat action from Newbury. The flat really does start to kick up now. And we look at Newbury first. We have 4 races we're going to look at, and the first of which is the 125, which is the John Porter Stakes. It's obviously now the Dubai Duty Free Final Surprise Stakes over 1.5 miles, and it's a Group 3 contest. Someway tops the market at 7-4. Ancient Wisdom 3-1. Bellum Justin is 9-2. Table Talk 10-1. Dallas Star 12s. Davina Grace is 20s. And Feigning Madness is 40-1. I'll kick off here first, Jack. I'm going to go with the second favourite here. I think that the Futurity winner from a couple of years ago, Ancient Wisdom, will probably go and win this. Second in the Dante, 8th in the Derby, and then the winner of the Bahrain Trophy Stakes. Went out to Germany and went to exclude the pronunciation here, but was third in the Grosser Allianz Prix von Bayern behind Assistant and Tiffany. And those 2 horses are 2 horses that are certainly worth following. Now, the ground was soft in Germany, and this probably had no excuses because this horse is very ground versatile, but he's a 4-year-old colt by Debawi, who I feel as an older horse will become a proper talented horse over this middle distant trip. He hasn't gone to Maidan like a lot of Charlie Appleby's had, so he is coming into this race really fresh. The trip is perfect, and I'd imagine if you were looking at kind of a mid-season target, I'd say that the King George would be on the horizon for this horse. I'd imagine Appleby's got that in mind as the kind of horse that could go to that, and I do think the 3-1 is worth taking. He's taking on a stayer in Someway, who obviously ran in the Ledger and has ran some decent races last year, but I don't think the form of Someway's races is all that. I do think he could become a good horse, but I do think he's worth taking on at 7-4.
In Somewhere, I was a little bit iffy about the ground, to be honest. I know you said he's ground versatile, but I think his better performances have come on softer ground, especially as he's got a little bit older. So I think they've both got a little bit to prove actually on a quicker surface. And I'm happy to go with Bellum Justin. I think he's got a little bit to prove over the trip. But look, yeah, I thought he won the first time out, which is nice. So we know he goes well fresh. He won the Blue Ribbon Try. He was a solid third in the Hampton Court on rocket quick ground, and then pushed Jan Brugge all the way at Goodwood over 1.5 miles before winning at Keelan over an extended 1.25 miles. I think 1.25 miles is probably where he's going to be seen to his best, but he's closely rated to Laheb, I think it is, a 1.5 mile Group 3 winner. So I think he's going to be versatile enough. Distance-wise, he's 9-2. I don't really want to be getting involved into too many short prices first up here in one of the opening weekends of the flat season. So around 9-2, Bellum Justin will do for me.
Okay, Bellum Justin then for Jack. Let's move on to the 2 o'clock, which is where we get into some of these 3-year-old races, kind of trials for some of the Guineas and Classics coming up. But this is the Fred Darling Stakes over 7 furlongs. This is for the fillies. Group 3 contest, which is simmering with Christophe Soumillon on board, 7-2 favourite. Mountain Breeze is 9-2. Heaven's Gate 6-1. Nada is 8-1. Time for Sandals 10-1. 12-1. Bar these, Jack. This is where it is, the start of the season. I mean, a lot of punters won't go as heavy as they maybe would later on down the line in the season. It's not as easy to know where these horses are at this stage of the season. But look, both of these trials look really good that we've got coming up. Who did you like in this?
Yeah, it is a good race, as you say. It's hard to kind of get stuck into from a betting point of view. I think Simmering's the most likely winner, to be honest, from what she showed last year. Obviously, won the Fred Margaret Ascot and was second to Lake Victoria in the Moy Stud Stakes, Group 1. But I thought actually a bit of a price Time for Sandals at 10-1 might go quite well, to be honest. I thought she won a relatively strong maiden at Kempton on debut. I think Big Jouncy, who's rated 99, he was second in the Group 3 Sweet Serenia, and then was only narrowly beaten Time for Sandals in the super sprint over 5, and then over 6 in the Lowther at York. And I really like the way she hit the line on both occasions. She shaped as if I thought 7 furlongs would suit, and I really like the way she knuckled down. Yes, she was a little bit inexperienced and a little bit green, but she actually knuckled down really nicely and fought on under Richard Kingscote on all 3 of her runs. And I think that kind of professionalism, if she has trained on quite nicely, she could actually be a little bit of a price here. So at 10-1, I'm actually quite happy to back Time for Sandals at a small each way bet.
Yeah, Time for Sandals in each way playing this, and like I said, like we don't know where some of these ones at the top of the market are at this moment. I've taken an each way play as well, Jack. I'm with Formal for Andrew Balding and Oshie Murphy in here, who won on debut here over course and distance, and couldn't have done it any easier. Looked really nice. I remember actually tweeting straight after saying this looks a proper horse. Was then second at Leicester. Won on second start at Leicester in really nice style, and then ran at Newmarket in the Group 2 Rockfell Stakes, finishing 4th of 5. Now, the one thing this horse you got to know, this horse was with Michael Stout as a 2-year-old. Now Michael Stout is obviously retired, and look, he's a legend, and I love so many of Michael Stout's horses over the years, but towards the back end of Michael Stout's career, I do feel like some of his horses weren't quite at the level that we're used to for Stout at this time, and I do think that Andrew Balding might get a fair bit out of Formal and get a bit of improvement, but I think she's really exciting. Like I say, she's moved there. I think she's genuinely, look, I wouldn't be backing her for a guinea. She is in the guineas. I wouldn't be backing her for a guineas because I was a little bit worried of how she ran in that Rockfell Stakes and whether Newmarket was actually going to be her track, and she could turn up at somewhere like Royal Ascot in the Duke of Cambridge or something like that, but that's where I could see her potentially heading. But she's 12-1 here. I think she's a decent each way bet against some of these top ones. But yeah, Jack's right. Simmering could be very solid. Did look very nice last season. And look, Christoph Simeon's coming over for Ollie Sangster, so we'll wait and see. Let's move on to the 235, and this is the Colts and Geldings version of the Fred Darling. This is the Greenham Stakes, again, over 7 furlongs. He's Rashabar now as the favourite, 100-30. Chancellor, 7-2. John Quills, 9-2. Al Qudra is 7-1. Rogue Alliance and Yar Me Be There. I think that's Yar Mo Be There. 11-1. 16-1 bar there. Do you know what? I should have read that horse before I even read the market. I'm with the favourite in this one, Jack. I quite like Rashabar. At 100-30. Look, was a really heavily campaigned 2-year-old last season, was third on debut, second in a Cheston Maiden, then won the Coventry at Royal Ascot. Was second in the pre-morning to Whistle Jacket, and I think you remember this time last year, Jack, I was raving on about the pre-morning from the previous year, Ramatuel and horses like that. But I do think this is going to be another good year for the pre-morning because Whistle Jacket won that race and Daylight was in third, and I think Daylight's a horse in France to really keep on the right side of. Then stepped up to 7 furlongs and was beaten by Camille Pizarro in the Lagardère on Arc weekend. Look, looking at the rating so far, the horse we know, £12 better than what was the favourite in Chancellor at the time. Chancellor's obviously a little bit more unexposed, and then £3 higher than Al Qudra, who's had a few runs in Dubai. So he's probably the match fit one in here, and it wouldn't surprise me, Jack, if you're a little bit of a fan of that horse. But I do feel Rashbar will now be built for 7 furlongs. If you want me to make a long-term call again, Jack, I can see this horse potentially running in a Lennox at the end of July. Can we break some news here? Are we allowed to break some news that you could potentially be watching the Lennox live this year?
Yeah, I might be actually. I think I might be back in the UK and hopefully over in Goodwood. So be by your side. We'll be cheering on something in the Lennox, no doubt, or down the 5 furlong class in Class 4 on the Wednesday or Thursday at Glorious Goodwood. Thinking, why did we talk ourselves into that? But yeah, it should be good fun, Sam.
Yeah, we've got plenty of viewers who are on the south coast of England who do turn up at Goodwood. So, yeah, look, hopefully, fingers crossed, we might see myself and Jack on course for the first time at Goodwood in God knows how many years, couple of years now. So it'd be great to see Jack over. But, yeah, I think, look, this race here, Brian Mee and Rashabar, I think he's got a really nice 3-year-old in his hand. I think he will take some beating. Jack, for you?
Yeah, it's a good race. I agree. Rashabar is definitely the most likely winner. 130 is probably a fair enough price. He hardly missed a beat last season, as you said. He deserves to be favourite. Connections, I think, have said that he'll come on for it. Look, I don't really listen to too much if that's the case. If he's £10 better than them and he's going to come on £5, then he's still going to go and win this quite comfortably. So I do think it's a good race, but I'm actually one at a price who I'm happy to back is Noble Champion at 33s. Only had the 2 starts, disappointed on debut back in the beginning of November, and then went really nicely at Lingfield. It was only at Lingfield over 7 furlongs, but stuck his neck down, kicked clean, really nice start, won by 5.5 lengths. And yes, it was a pretty weak event, but he cost £500,000 guineas. He's a half brother to Pogo, who we know was a very solid group performer over 7 furlongs, and I think he's got plenty of upside. So yeah, there are a few in there that are unexposed. He doesn't come from luxurious connections, so that's probably why he's 33-1. But I think he's got a lot of upside. So Noble Champion will do me at 33s.
Another big price there, 33-1, Noble Champion for Jack in the Greenham Stakes. And the big handicap on the card, the last race we look at from Newbury is the 312, which is the Spring Cup handicap over a mile. Love looking at these. And blimey, in the last hour or so, a huge gamble going on Silver Sword for Dylan Cunha and Jamie Spencer. Now 4-1 favourite in here. I saw around 10s, 8-1 earlier. James McHenry's 5-1, Metal Merchant 8-1, Cogitate's 10-1, Urban Lion is 11s, 12s about Son, and 14s and bigger the rest. Jack, like I say, this is a fair gamble that's going on Silver Sword, who won out in Maidan on his last start. Dylan Cunha took the horse out there, campaigned this horse fairly heavily over the winter, and comes here, look, a horse who's going to be match fit.
Yeah, look, it's so hard to try and price up and rate those horses when they go over to Maidan for a winter campaign. And look, they may think he's still a few pound well in. He went over there, I think, off rating of 95. He's come back off 93 and he won last start. So he could be a few pound well in. At 4-1, he's probably not one that I want to be getting involved with. I actually don't mind Cogitate, who's managed to sneak in. Of course, they're on the round course and there's only 14 in. Sneaks in off bottom weight. Holly Dawes on. But he's just so unexposed. He's had the 6 runs. And on his debut, he beat Boiling Point at Newbury over 7 furlongs. Boiling Point's rated 107. Even on that form alone, I think he's got a good chance, of course, network rated £20 less than that. But I really like the way at Kempton, he knuckled on quite nicely. He was a little bit out of form last year in the Britannia and then at Goodwood, but he had to use up quite a lot of energy early to get into a prominent position. Ran well and then weakened in the last furlong there to finish 4th at Kempton. Drops back to a mark of 87 as he was last time out. I think that's a fair enough mark. So Holly Dawes on 10-1. It's a double figure price. I think Cogitate has more to offer than a rating of 87, Sam.
Cogitate for Jack then at 10-1 in the Spring Cup. And I have one that probably will end up becoming a bit of a cliff horse for me in here, and it's going to be Son for Richard Hannon at 16-1. His 2-year-old campaign, if you go back and look at it, it's quite notable against some really nice horses back when he's a 2-year-old. He just never really took a step forward as a 3-year-old, but he has been gelded before this season. So look, if he can make any sort of difference with this gelding off a mark of 98, he could be extremely well handicapped based on his previous form. Didn't work out for him last season, but if that gelding has worked, then I do think that he could win a decent race this season. I'm going to take a chance on him first time up, only because he was actually 4th in last year's Greenham at this meeting last year. Now, it wasn't a strong Greenham by any means, but like I say, Newbury is a course where Hannon does really, really well. He's got a good record at Newbury with horses. He's got a couple in here. Classic's another one who was actually beaten by a real Derby contender, I think, a couple of years ago at Goodwood. So, look, he's got 2 horses in here for the same colours. I do think Son, though, off top weight, could run a massive race. Pat Dobbs is on board, and I will be taking a chance at a decent price that horse will run a big one. So, Son for me in the Spring Cup. Now let's get into some National Hunt action, Jack. We move to Ayr. Obviously, this is going to be another key weekend in the British training side, so we haven't mentioned that as of yet. But Willie Mullins, after a fantastic Aintree meeting and a fantastic training performance in the Grand National, is so close to taking that British trainers title once again, where Dan Skelton almost looks certain to be taking it home. It looks like it could be the other way around now. And we look at the Scottish Champion Hurdle at 2:15, a Grade 2 limited handicap, where Willie Mullins does have the favourite now. Ethical Diamond is 7-2 with Patrick on board. Cabrel de Matan is 5-1. Then we've got a big jump. Dysart Enos, Valgrand, all 12-1. 20-1 about Bunty and Kievar, and then bigger the rest. Is this simply, Jack, I mean, the market's kind of suggesting it's between the top 2 in the market, a battle between Paul Nicholls and Mullins?
Potentially. Look, to be honest, it's going to be for my sins, but I'm going to try and take Willie on probably when he's coming over to Ayr, because a few of his are going to be so overbet, and we see it here with Ethical Diamond, who could just go and win, but he's 7-2 and he's up against some pretty nice horses actually. And Cabrel de Matan has been saved for this, and I've been stung a couple of times by Cabrel de Matan Harry Cobden being jocked on at Aintree and then into the different race, and even before that there as well. But I think he's a lot better than a mark of 139. I really like the way he won at Kempton. He won in a good time there, and he's finished second in 2 pretty hot handicaps at Ascot and Windsor since then. I think he's pretty straightforward, and I think he's a lot better than 139. So I'll be having a win bet on him at 5-1. But also Cahava, the E-Ball second. I probably think 139's a fair enough mark once again, but was running behind Rubo and Sergino around Christmas time. Has been given a bit of a break. I think Connection's going to have a good fun with him as a dual purpose horse this year, and he's around the 20-1 mark. So I'm happy to back him each way, Sam, and Cabral de Matan at 5-1 in the hope that we can send Willie back unhappy.
Yeah, Cabral de Matan 5-1 win bet for Jack, and Kievar's a decent each way price in this field. And look, a lot of people are going to be over betting, like Jack said, all these Willie Mullins horses that are coming over, not just for this meeting at Ayr, but over the next week or so until we hit Sandown. So we'll just wait and see. But Ethical Diamond 3-1, it's not a race that I'm going to have a bet, and I do think that the horse is potentially just very solid. Jack obviously was 4th in the county at Cheltenham behind 3 nice horses in Cargeese, Nadawi and Absurd. I would have actually fancied Absurd, who was entered for this. I would have really fancied Absurd if coming here. But yeah, I do think Ethical Diamond will probably go and win this. There's going to be a lot of people still on that Valgrand train and not getting off it yet when they should be. I just think that this horse here, Valgrand, is just, I can't believe what happened in that county hurdle where the horse was supposedly a certainty to win that, and half of Cheltenham were on it. But no, that wasn't the case in the end. Didn't go and do anything there, and I don't think the horse will be doing anything here either. So I do think it's between the top 2, but I would be with Ethical Diamond, but a very tentative selection. But the race I have got a strong selection, and a fairly strong selection, is the 3:35, which is the Coral Scottish Grand National Handicap Chase over 4 miles. And talk about horses that might be over bet, we've got a fairly short price favourite for a Scottish National in Chosen Witness at 11-2. Danny Mullins is back aboard McDermott, who won the race last year at 12-1. Captain Cody and Rock My Way, along with Surrey Quest, 16-1. Walking on Air, 18-1. 20-1. Henry's Friend, Olympic Man, and Bigger the rest. Now, the horse that I like in it, I'm just checking his current price, but it's currently 40-1 in this field, and I think this horse will run a mighty race, and it's Our Power for Sam Thomas. Now, he was actually second in the Sonic the Hedgehog 3 coming soon handicap chase to King Turgent, and then second on New Year's Day behind Chantry House. They were both at Cheltenham, and his best runs have come on good ground. We know this horse stays. He was 11th in the Grand National last year, and he won the Coral Trophy at Kempton last season on good ground. He's actually off the same mark as he was in the Grand National last year, so we know he can get round carrying a weight over a 4 mile plus trip. So this horse will stay, and I genuinely think he'll run the race for his life. I can't believe his form on good ground is exceptional. I think Sam Thomas is a brilliant target trainer. Whether this has been the target all season to have him ready for one of these big nationals, I don't know. And they've not gone to a Grand National, but they've come here for this race. I think he's a ludicrous price, actually, at 40-1. If that Mullins battalion weren't coming over, Jack, I do think that he'd probably be a lot shorter and potentially sort of 10-8-1. I do think he's a really classy horse, Our Power. So I'll take a chance on that at 40-1. A huge gamble on this Mullins favourite, and like you say, another over bet horse.
Yeah, probably. Goodness me, 11-2 is an absolutely shocking price, isn't it, for what he's shown recently? But hey, if he goes and wins, then fair play. I'll doff my cap, but won't be getting anywhere near involved at 11-2. Yeah, kudos to you for calling out the full Sonic the Hedgehog 3 coming soon handicap chase. I thought that was tremendous. It's another great race, as the Scottish National always is. You want a stout stay, you've picked out one there. I'll probably be with Rock My Way at 16s, of course, second in the National Hunt chase. Blinkers went on first time. Thought they did a decent job of staying on at the line there, and was the exact same at Doncaster in a novice chase over 3 miles when beaten by We've All Been Caught. That was no match for We've All Been Caught that day, but I thought ran a solid enough race. It's rated 133 and still pretty unexposed over fences, actually. I mean, he's had 8 runs. He's been second 4 times, third. He's been in the frame, 7 of his 8 runs over fences, and I think he's going to be there or thereabouts. He's staying on at the line, and he's still unexposed. So Rock My Way at 16-1. I was nearly saying myself short there. At 16-1 will do me, Sam.
Rock My Way for Jack in the Scottish National then. Yeah, I just mentioned the full race name just in case, Sega fancied sponsoring the Next Gen Racing channel anytime soon. But look, it's a really fascinating weekend. Some big prices from myself and Jack this week. And like I say, especially on the flat, just due to the fact that we don't know where some of these horses are at. And we are going to be taking on some of these Mullins hot pots at Ayr on Saturday. So yeah, really looking forward to the action. Let us know down in the comments who you like this weekend, who is the best bet. And talking of best bets, we need to find out who our best bet of the weekend is. And Jack, do you know what? I don't know where we're at with the order of who goes first, second, but I'll let you go first this week. What race are you going to choose and who's the best bet?
Oh, come back to me, Sam. Because I'm umming
Oh,
and
so you
ahhing.
want me to go
I
first?
feel like you're going to make up my decision for me, so I'll let you go first.
Okay, do you know? Do I go short? I'll go with Ancient Wisdom in the John
Okay.
Porter Stakes, the 125 at Newbury at 3-1. I think that's a fair bet. So yeah, Ancient Wisdom for me. Go on, who are you going to go with?
That makes up my mind for me. I'll go Cogitate in the handicap there at Newbury.
So yeah, Cogitate about around 10-1 for Jack in the Spring Cup, his nap, and then I will be with Ancient Wisdom in that John Porter, the 125 at Newbury. Just quick, Jack, it is obviously Masters weekend. I don't know whether you've got any bets on the Masters or you fancy anyone for the Masters, because this is out on a Thursday evening, so still plenty of time to find out who is going to be winning the Masters if you haven't had a bet.
For my sins, probably I've backed Justin Thomas and John Rahm. You haven't done the same, have you? Oh, there we go. The joint
for my sins, I've backed John Rahm, and I've actually, do you know what, I'm not going to take credit for this, but I've gone in with Steve Palmer on Justin Thomas, who was his best bet for the Masters. So yeah, Justin Thomas and John Rahm. I mean, it's a certainty now, is it?
What could possibly go wrong?
Exactly. Right. Well, Jack and I will be back again next week. You might see a couple of selections from us on our social media page for the Craven meeting that's happening midweek, but we'll be back next Thursday for our weekend preview. Until then, do like, comment, share, and subscribe, and we'll see you very soon.